All right, in today's interview, I'm interviewing Sally over at I Jump Instead, Trophy Bodies, however you know her. It's a great interview. I do start off with the reason that I'm interviewing it quite a bit in the beginning of this, just so you know. I really wanted to lead into why I was interviewing her, so hopefully you enjoy it. There's a lot of good information here, a lot of information, honestly, that I completely forgot about. And I think if you're looking to get into any kind of rebounding, this is a very good interview for you to watch, especially if you're new to rebounding. After you watch it, I'm going to link all of her information down in the description section. I'm also going to link the link that I have for the Cellerciser. Go check it out. Go see how it can transform your life, and make sure that you keep mobility the forefront, really pay attention. And like I say in this video, videotape yourself, watch yourself in a mirror, see how you're actually doing it, and see if there's any things that you can correct. And that is it. Anyway, enjoy the interview. I wanted to talk about this book. Now, you told me about this book like almost a year ago. And it was a while ago. And I read it, and I'm reading all this stuff, and I'm like, why does everybody else have these results with rebounding? Now, I've had some results, but why does everybody in this have better results than I do? And so I started watching your classes again, and again, this is Sally with I Jump Instead. I really jumped into this. This is like where my channel is going to go. So I'm kind of excited about this whole thing. So you pointed this book out to me, and I'm like, I couldn't figure out, I was doing, and you even suggested that maybe I should try doing 10 or 15 minutes and then jog for 10 or 15 minutes and then do a cool down and everything. And I did that, and I was filming myself, and I'm like, I don't look right. I don't look right at all. And then I was watching your guys's channel, and I'm looking at you now. Obviously, there's going to be a difference because male, female. But I'm like, my body just does not operate like hers does, and it's led me down this rabbit hole of things. And I was watching your channel, and I'm like, I wanted to talk to you about this because I think this is really important. Nothing was lined up right. My shoulders were way back here. My pelvis was just completely, in a dead zone. Just all my muscles were just in the wrong place. I actually had a osteopathic manipulator one time tell me that my liver, my stomach, my spleen, and 3 other organs were in totally wrong places. My stomach, he said, was practically in my armpit. He's like, you have bad digestion. My digestion's been bad my entire life. And I'm like, my legs didn't work correctly. I'm completely, I don't even know how I operated. I was always in pain, 24 hours a day in pain. And because of watching your workouts, I realized this. And then because, everybody on my channel seems to want to tell me just how much of an asshole I am, it's ridiculous, but they're like, you don't look right when you're running on the trampoline. And I really started studying it because I didn't think I looked right either. And it's led me down this huge thing and I actually prayed about it. I'm like, I don't want to be in pain anymore. What's going on? And I slowly have pieced it together. I don't even think it's been this divine intervention using the Cellerciser, watching your channel, realizing that nothing worked right. And I think the reason I wanted to have you on here is because people who have a certain body type, I think all have this very immobile body style to them. And because of that, the lymphatic system isn't going to work correctly. You're not going to drain correctly. You're going to be in pain. You're going to not be able to lose weight no matter how good of a diet you do. And it really, I can't believe the transformation that I've seen in myself in the mirror. I may not look all that different on camera, but even if you look at the interview that we did almost 3 years ago, my shoulders wouldn't move like this. They just stayed, and they were back here and everything looked wrong. And the more I film myself. And the only reason I film myself is because you told me about this and do that challenge, and I wanted to make a video about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had any of this. So I just really wanted to thank you for, first of all, but I really wanted to, like, anybody who does your workouts or follows your program and has like like sees everybody else kind of getting results but doesn't get results themselves, this may be you. Like, and the thing that I can say is that you can, a really good sign is big calves, no ass, very undefined shoulders, lats really aren't that defined, and um there was one other. I had a whole notebook full of things that I had written down. I'll link. I made a video about this. I'll link it so you can watch it at the end. Not you, but whoever wants to. But it's crazy, this roller coaster ride that I've been on ever since you pointed this book out. And I really, it just, I don't even know, like, if this is an interview or not. This is just a thank you. But I mean, have you run across people who don't really have any results from this thing and think it's just woo woo or anything? Like, have you come across that?
Well, I need to first ask, so what you're saying is that you went on this journey of committing to the rebounder and you were
Yeah.
trying to do the same amount of time every day and you stayed consistent with it. And what you're saying is that your body balanced in a way, your body shifted in a way because the rebounder kind of just reset everything in your body and brought you more into alignment with your bone structure and with it. Do you think that your organ shifted? Do you think that you had like a transformation in that way? Are you saying you did?
Yeah, there's been a total transformation, but it isn't strictly just a Cellerciser. Like, I've been doing a lot of walking because I live in New York and I don't have a car. And I'll be walking. I'm like, oh, that's how that's supposed to move. Like, just recently, I realized that the legs are actually supposed to pick themselves up. Like, I kind of just, I don't even know how I moved, but yeah, I've really, like, when I discover this, then I'll go on the Cellerciser and I'll kind of put myself in that formation and get, repetition on the Cellerciser. It's much easier and it looks less like I can't do this out on the street. It looks ridiculous. So I'll get on the Cellerciser and I'll just do that motion on the Cellerciser and it'll like show me something else that's been out of place. I don't know how to teach this. I just know that I've used the Cellerciser, and it is because of being on the Cellerciser. And like when I watch Dave Hall and different people and you, and I'm like, I would watch them and I'd be like, how is it this effortless, or this is operating like this, and I couldn't get it to work on me. And it just dawned on me that nothing was in, like, working correctly.
But it started working correctly, is what you're
Yes,
saying.
it started like it just over the last couple months, and I've really noticed like the weight finally started coming off, and like the pain, like I was in pain 24 hours a day,
Hmm.
and now I'm not. It's just, there's so much power in that, like on the Cellerciser, and I just I don't know. I wanted to have you on here. I don't know what else to say about it, but it just, I think there's, people who watch you, because I'm not gonna do these workouts. I'm not gonna have a channel like that. It's just not my thing. Besides, I don't know where I film it. So I think people who watch your channel who are having issues like mine would really benefit from realizing where the body is supposed to be and like studying this, and because nobody else is going to do this for you. And how many doctors I've been to in my life, and nobody's pointed this out. But I started studying, and like I'm an artist. I've bodybuilt, built, back in the day somehow with this dysfunctional body of mine. So I know the anatomy really well. But then I started realizing like the shoulders are supposed to be here, and the hips are supposed to be back here. And if you don't have this awareness, you're just on the Cellerciser. Maybe it's just not doing anything for you.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because you have to believe in it, you have to keep at it, and you have to, I guess, surrender to it. Is that
Yeah.
like what we're trying to conclude? Because I want everyone to get results when they jump instead, because I want jumping to be so inviting and so easy and for every single person. And it does break my heart to think that someone might give up on it because they don't see results right away. But are they not getting results because of other lifestyle factors or because of belief systems or just because they have a lot of realigning, healing, and healing to do? And so they just need to put the time in with it because, I've tried getting results with other forms of exercise. I've tried going all in with cycling or going all in with swimming, and do results come right away? It just depends. Are we refueling after we eat? Are we getting that recovery? Sleep? Are we hydrating? And all of those things play a role in how healthy our hormones end up being. And then
Mhm.
also, our sleep is helps us recover that muscle tissue. And so we can rebuild and we can start to build the muscle. And then of course, are we getting that resistance against our bones to keep our bones strong and to keep our bones aligned, just because if we're doing high impact movement or if we're just sitting, like for example, cycling, like we're just sitting in that hunched position all the time, are we really straightening up and pulling our chest open and really opening up the diaphragm and allowing ourselves to breathe properly and pulling our shoulders back and not causing tension in the neck because we're hunching over in the cycling? And so it's important, it's good to think about what sport we're doing and if the sport really truly takes care of everything. Because even with bodybuilding, stretching is really hard to do. A lot of people neglect it and avoid it. And with the bodybuilding, you could not be getting results simply because you're not stretching along with your bodybuilding journey. And so with rebounding, when you say you didn't get results right away, then it makes me wonder, well, maybe I recommended to you to get going and maybe I recommended too simple movements. Just the jogging alone wasn't opening up your chest and you weren't doing movements that were lifting you up and pulling you back. And maybe tell me if you started recently doing different moves on the rebounder that may have started to go in and do that work that you're now seeing the results you're seeing. Did you change anything or was it just you stuck with it and after a certain period of time then everything started happening?
It was seeing myself in motion. I realized that something was wrong. My body, because if you watch the hips, they move this way, and then the body moves kind of the opposite way.
Yeah.
It's like a washing machine, and I wasn't doing that. It wasn't there at all. There's quite a few factors in it, and like if you look at my body style, like we should not have a body style like mine. Like it's just like a fire hydrant with legs. It's ridiculous. It's inefficient. And so I started realizing that you're supposed, your body's supposed to move kind of like this, and it's hard to explain. It's the rotation that the body's supposed to have and the movement the hips are supposed to have, and they counteract each other. And when you step over one foot, technically your spine is supposed to be over that leg, and it goes back and forth. And I wasn't doing any of that. One thing that I did change actually is, I don't know if it's still there, and this was years ago, but I read one time on, I think it's what's Dave Hall's thing, like Cellerciser on a Facebook. This
Yeah.
girl had a 26-minute routine, and the bulk of the routine was the swimmers,
Mm-hmm.
like over the head.
Yes.
That one really helped me, I think, more than anything.
I
Uh,
believe it. Yeah.
yeah, because I realized where everything was supposed to be. Everything was rotating. It was like moving concrete practically in the beginning, and then but then if somebody's watching this and does this, be aware that if you've been in like a really solid state like your whole life and you all of a sudden start moving things, drink a lot of water
Yeah.
because you're really there. A lot's going to come out, and I wouldn't recommend doing much more than 10 minutes a day in the beginning, because it you'll be tired and you don't even know why, and you'll have all this stuff coming out, and it's been quite a journey.
I bet, yeah. And also keep the balancing super low and make sure that you do jump on a high quality rebounder. I mean, I know it's not available for a lot of people, or we can't afford that more higher quality rebounder, but just keep in mind that if we are on a lower quality rebounder, and rebounding is a concentrated form of exercise, as they say in that book, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't in that book, yeah. So we have to think of it like concentrated orange juice. And if you're on a cheap rebounder and your joints, your body hasn't had this stretching and pumping in potentially decades since you were a kid jumping on a bed, right?
Mm.
Of a sudden you start jumping and you start jumping more vigorously, you could injure yourself very easily. And so we just need to keep the bouncing very low, keep it to 10 minutes, and then do very easy, simple movements and try not to stretch too deep. Know that a little bit goes a long way because sometimes we get really motivated. Oh, I'm going to get on the rebounder and I'm going to do even just 10 minutes. But whatever instructor I'm following, I'm going to do their exact movements. I'm going to lift as high as they do and kick as high as they do. And it's way too fast. It's just like going to an advanced yoga class. You would never want to go in and bend in those ways. And then with rebounding, you're putting this resistance against your joints in these positions that they haven't been, and it can be catastrophic, honestly. And so we really do need to take it easy and start simple. And that's why I love that book so much, is because that book simplifies the whole message. It just says to go easy, to have fun, and then never increase intensity, only increase time.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get into a routine where you're sticking with 10, 15 minutes daily, and that's easy to sustain. So now I want to do more. I want to get another 5 minutes in the afternoon, right? So you hit that second time in the day, because from my experience, when we rebound once every 24 hours, we do start to adapt. But when we hit that rebounder, morning and evening, now we're hitting it twice in 24 hours and we really start to see results. And especially if we're just doing 5 or 10 minutes and we're going super easy, we're going to adapt much quicker. And by the 1 month mark, we could be 3 months ahead than we would have been if we had just done once a day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this the slow and steady is definitely wins the race in this whole thing. And like you were talking about the cycling, I don't really I don't really think cycling is like the best place to start for most people at all. But a lot of people watch the whole Durian Rider crew and Freely crew, and they were riding everywhere. And I think cycling is a utilitarian thing. Like you got to go grocery shopping, and you got like a thing on the front or the back, and you go grocery shopping is fine. But I really think the Cellerciser or whatever rebounder you have is definitely much more doable and safe, but because you're not using your entire half of like the main area that's going to have the most inflammation is your upper body for the most part, usually, and you're not moving it at all when you're on a bike for the most, unless you're really going for it. But it's stagnant energy. And so where's that stagnant energy going to go?
Right. One of the things I learned quickly once I started really building up my fitness on the rebounder was I could go take a bike ride and I was as fit as I would have been if I were a seasoned cyclist. I literally was charging up a mountain. It was my first day on my bike since the previous summer, and somebody yelled out their car window, "You're so fit," or something along those lines. And I was like, I know, it's a breeze. I got leg muscle, I got endurance, I've got actually full body muscle, and I didn't need to be cycling through the winter time in order to keep this stamina. I just went hiking. I haven't hiked all winter long, and I got a hike in. It was Poo Poo Point. I know it's kind of a cute name, and it's 40 minutes straight up a hill. And I timed it. I got 39 minutes, but that was my time. How fast does the average person go? I'll tell you how many people commented to me when I was going up and down that hill, how I just seemed like I was in incredible health and fitness. You know what I mean? And of course, my results speak for themselves in my body because I looked like an athlete, and I haven't hiked since last summer. And
Yeah.
just zipped up that hill. And so, yeah, having a machine in the home that can keep us fit year round so that we can then cycle for fun. Cycle if we want to ride our bike to go
Yeah.
get groceries. I don't know how sustainable that is for most people, especially in the US where the weather's pretty crap,
Mm-hmm.
months of the year. But if we want to cycle for any reason, like I like an e-bike because I can go so much farther. I get on my e-bike and go. I know I've already had my workout for the day, or I'm already in great shape. So I go out for leisure and I go hiking for leisure. And I go do, I could even go jump into a yoga class or do this for all leisure because I've got my foundational fitness right in the comfort of my own home where I can jump in my robe when I first wake up. I can jump in my robe when I'm right before I'm about ready to go to bed, and I can be in cozy sweats in the middle of the day, and I can go straight to my rebounder and start basically weight training, or I can just stick with cardio, or I can do both at the same time because there are moves that we can just keep it low muscle activation and just bring the heart rate up. We can do moves that are just very flexing and very, certain muscle group focused. And then it would be more, like bodybuilding, resistance training, or we can do a move that incorporates heart rate aerobics as well as bodybuilding flexing. And now we're just in this state of body that it just crushes the it increases the metabolism. I shouldn't say it crushes the metabolism. It spikes the metabolism, and I can get into that momentum in 30 seconds. And I could do it all day long, and I could only go for 1 minute. You know what I mean? Like it would take 30 seconds to get up to that heart rate and that flexing mind to muscle like activation. And then I could go for 1 minute and then I can jump off. And I've literally just given my metabolism a blast. I didn't have to leave the house. I didn't have to get on a bike and warm up and only hit my quads. I hit my whole body. I didn't have to go to a gym. Literally 1 minute workouts when you have the rebounder in your home. And then you can, of course, go longer than that. Absolutely. And then build up this incredible fitness and then get the digestion going really strong. The lymphatic system is pumped all day long anytime we jump, and that's incredible for immune strength. I'll tell you, when I changed my diet, and I've gone through times where I've experimented with my diet, this Cellerciser is what kept my immune system strong because calories were kind of here and there because I was figuring out calorie densities and my needs. And my Cellerciser kept my immune system strong through the whole thing. I rarely ever get sick. Being sick is so rare for me. And then flexibility, like having that stretching happening every time I'm bouncing, keeps me so flexible. That is just something that is rare in this day and age to have that flexibility. And so you don't get that with other forms of exercise, a little bit with yoga, but yoga, you're not getting that super cardio. And so why not just do it all in one? Cardio, muscle building, and strength training and flexibility and lymphatic pumping. So it just never ends. And then of course, we nose breathe, as you may already know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What brought you to that whole nose breathing thing?
Someone just reached out and was like, you should look up Patrick McKeown and James Nestor and their 2 books and check out nose breathing, because nose breathing is actually the right way to breathe. And of course, we put up the resistance a little bit at first. We were like, oh, I don't know, open the mouth and get the air in. And then we looked into it, and all of the benefits that you get from nose breathing were like so profound. We were like, oh, we've got to try this. So of course we shut our mouths and start going again on our rebounders, and we feel like we've dropped in fitness. We're like, whoa, this is so much harder than we thought. So we had to swallow kind of our pride and go at a slower pace. And I remember going out on a 5K and I nose breathed the whole way through, and I had to go so slow because I could not go as fast as I would have if I were mouth breathing. And so you might think right off the bat, well, why the heck would you do that then when you can just go faster and mouth breathe? Well, guess what? I built my way up nose breathing, and now I'm the fastest person out there doing a 5K, the fastest person climbing that hill, and I'm nose breathing the whole way through. So imagine the person that's at my level mouth breathing versus me nose breathing. I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I'm slowly breathing in my lower diaphragm. The air that I'm breathing is warm and filtered. It's keeping my central nervous system calm. It's keeping my teeth moist because my mouth is closed, my jaw is closed versus hanging jaw. Hanging jaw makes your whole face change shape. So I've got my mouth up and tight, keeping my under chin snatched, and I'm going just as fast because I took the time to build my fitness up in the nose breathing zone. And now I've got if I get to the mouth breathing zone, I'm lightning speed. Like I'm going so fast. That's when I have to slip my mouth open. And I don't even like training at that speed because that speed increases stress, it increases risk of injury. And it's just no fun to be in that super high 160, 170 heart rate. Like that will mess with hormones. It literally will, increase cortisol,
Yeah,
and
cortisol it goes way up, like
it goes
way up.
way up, and also increases the hunger. Like hunger can just spike so hard. And most of us don't know how to recover properly. And so you really have to know, you have to be like a certified coach to know how to recover from that level of intensity. It's not common to know how to recover from that. So if we stay in the nose breathing zone, we can still get extremely lean and fit, and we don't have to go out of our way to recover. We don't have to rest for 10, 12, 14 hours a day. We don't have to take any supplements, and we don't have to go to bed at 7 o'clock at night just to recover properly. I go to bed at 9:30 every night, and I get amazing sleep scores on my Oura ring. And I am in incredible health and fitness, and I don't ever train in those high intensity zones.
Yeah, I remember a long time ago. I don't really follow him anymore, but during Ryder and I forget what Natasha, I think, they posted this story where there was these two women running, and one had their mouth open, one had their nose or their mouth closed, and just nose breathing. And they were claiming that the woman that had a mouth open was much more fit, but you could actually see her abs, and you couldn't see the abs on the girl that had her mouth open. So I didn't know what point they were trying to make, but it reminded me of kind of some of the stuff that you've been saying. Is that one of the biggest things that you've noticed, since you've been rebounding, is the closing the mouth?
Well, that came halfway through our rebounding journey because one of our trophies just reached out and was like, hey, you're breathing wrong. And so once we started nose breathing, we just noticed that everything changed because our under here got tighter, and we also started carrying nose breathing into our daily lives. It was like habit training, like practicing. We also started nose breathing at night by wearing mouth tape so that we're breathing through the night. And then, just understanding all of the benefits that come from nose breathing. It's just been a huge part of our rebounding success too, because when we're in our workouts that we instruct, our trophies are doing what we're telling them to do, which is nose breathe. And they're saying that they love nose breathing so much more than that. Again, the jaw is hanging, the teeth are drying. It makes no sense. The upper diaphragm is what is grabbing all of that air when we want to be breathing in the lower diaphragm. And so it's easier to get to the lower diaphragm. It warms the air, it filters the air, it slows the air. So it actually makes us work harder for it. And
Mm.
so flipping the mouth open is like the easy, like kind of cheating, but it really isn't doing anything for our central nervous system because we're in this anxious breathing. So, did that answer your question?
It does answer my question. And actually, if you really think about it, when you have your mouth open and you're doing those short breaths, that's also going to raise cortisol.
It does.
Yeah, and because and then people wonder why they retain water so bad after an exercise, and they've been mouth breathing the entire time.
That's one of the things Patrick McKeown says. He says when you mouth breathe at night, you actually pee more. And maybe that you might think that that's a good thing, but you're actually not absorbing the water in your body or something, and it's just going through and you're releasing it. If you nose breathe, you actually pee less, which means you're retaining that water. And so your body is healthier because we want to be hydrated. And so anyway, the nose breathing is just a big part of it, but yeah, rebounding is just offers 1,000 benefits, and then the nose breathing is just the right way to breathe. We should be breathing nose breathing in any form of exercise, like I said, along with in our daily lives and while we're sleeping. We nose breathe while we eat. We should be nose breathing while we're just being present in our day, and yeah. And it really works wonders for just calming the mind.
Hmm. Yeah, you've sold it to me more than because I always heard you guys say that, I tried to do it as much as possible, but I guess it does make a lot of sense, a lot more sense than I really thought about.
You got to slow down. That's the ego.
Yeah.
That's the part that's really tough because you have to take a period of time and work your lung capacity up because your lungs aren't as strong as you think when we mouth breathe. When we're nose breathing, we really go in and do the work. And sometimes the nose can actually, like, you can read about it when you read these books. When you start nose breathing, you're not used to it because you've been mouth breathing. So your nose, it's like, I don't know if weak is the right word, but it doesn't feel good when you start nose breathing because this has all been constricted and tight. So when you start nose breathing, it
Mm.
starts to open up. So it can be painful in there, but it's just like when you start stretching into joints that haven't been stretched in for decades, it's going to hurt right off the bat. But once you get into there, then you just feel amazing. And once you get in here, you feel amazing and you can breathe in through, oh, like I feel bad for my past self that wasn't nose breathing because I'm obsessed with it. And again, like when I climb up the mountain, I don't see very many nose breathers out there, and I'm the fastest one up the hill, and it's because I earned it. Some people are mouth breathing and they're fast, but I can't imagine that having a jaw open. Oh, I don't know. Kind of seems like it's like an animal, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and you're letting all your water out. The peeing thing I struggle with too at night. It drives me nuts. It drives me absolutely nuts. And I even have one of them straps to make it sure my mouth doesn't open, but it just
That's
doesn't care.
great.
What's that?
That's great. You do make yourself nose breathe at night with a strap thing.
I guess it's on there. It doesn't come off,
You
but
notice that your mouth open. Do you ever wake up in the night and kind of know your mouth's closed? Because I sometimes wake up in the night and I can feel that my mouth is closed.
sometimes and sometimes not. And I know if it works because I'll have this weird feeling in the back of my nose if I'm mouth breathing at night.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
like this weird dull ache.
Oh, interesting.
So I know, I know, I know when the strap didn't work that night. But anyway, probably enough about that. But I haven't had you on here for like almost 3 years. What is the biggest difference that you like? What would you tell yourself when you started rebounding of what you should do, where you should start, and what's the biggest thing that you've learned, do you think, over the years of using it?
I think that, and I was actually learning this as I was going because I was putting myself out there on social media. So I read to really be honest with myself with everything that I was, acquiring with my knowledge through my rebounding journey. And I said it early on in my rebounding journey, and I'll say it again too, but because rebounding is a form of resistance training, because we're increasing the weight of gravity against every cell in our entire body, what we really should be focusing on, because the resistance training is already taken care of by jumping, we should be focusing on stretching. We should be focusing on that flexibility, not on bringing the heart rate up. Because that's so often what everybody wants to do when they
Mm-hmm.
exercise is just jack the heart rate up. Well, if you think about it, what is most important is resistance training. And then if we're creating that flexibility and we're lengthening our muscles while we're resistance training, then we're really building up that metabolism that we're all after for fat loss. And so by lengthening while we're jumping, which is flexibility, then we're putting the muscles in their longest positions and then we're resistance training against them. And so we're building them more efficiently versus just in shorter positions. And so kicking movements and stretching movements, and then not worrying about the heart rate. Let the heart rate come when energy is right, because if we're jumping first thing in the morning or bouncing, we might not be high energy. So we should just be gently bouncing and working on flexibility. If in the middle of the day we're energized and we want to get on our rebounders and jump, we can have that heart rate come up a little bit because we're noticing that we're moving at a faster pace. And then in the evening time, if we're on our rebounders again and we're not very energized, we should just be gently bouncing and working on flexibility again. And that should be the main focus, I think, for people, because it's working into the structure that we need in order to be the best rebounders that we can, the best jumpers that we can, because it's a joint game when it comes to rebounding. It really needs strong ankles, strong knees, strong hips, strong shoulders, strong neck, strong spine. We need to have all of those at their healthiest in order to excel to the highest level of fitness with rebounding. We don't need a really super strong wrist to cycle. We don't need really, some maybe cycling. Someone might argue that you do need a strong wrist, but it's not to the level that it's not an imbalance with maybe your knees, your ankles need to be super strong when it comes to pushing the pedals, right? But do your elbows and wrists really need to be like extra strong? No. So what ends up happening is, with other forms of exercises, we're creating strength in our joints in an imbalanced way. But with rebounding, we strengthen them all. And then what my main point though is that most of us are coming into rebounding with weak joints because we're not resistance training against our joints in the sport that we're doing. If we're doing a sport that doesn't strengthen all of our joints, or we're not doing any sport. That's a lot of people's stories, that we're just walking, we're not really doing something that's strengthening all of the joints. And so we need to take it easy and know that, I know I was saying right from the start that we need to have strong joints, but we get strong joints by jumping. And so you get what you need, and then you end up with joints of steel. And that should be the focus. Let the energy flow. If that answered your question.
Yeah, energy flow. It really is. And I've noticed it ever since this weird journey that I've been on this last, I don't know, 8, 9 months or something like that. When everything flows and everything just moves, it's effortless. Like you're almost weightless when you move. But if you don't have that, your body fights with you every step you take. And I've really noticed that rebounding has really helped my walking. It has really helped everything else. And I've had these things for going on 16 or 17 years now. I got actually I might have said this in the interview that I did with you the last time, but Mike Menzer, he was experimenting with a mini trampoline in the gym. So what he would do is he would do a set of squats, and then he would do another set of squats, and then he would do a set of squats, and then he would rebound in between and do another set. And he noticed that he could increase how much weight he could squat by whether or not he was on the mini trampoline. And actually, that's why I got mine. I used to bring it to the gym sometimes, or I would just do it after I got home from the gym, and I would notice my recovery was better.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how people weightlift without it, but that's kind of the thing, though. It's like people do things, the way that they know how to do them. And maybe if they knew about rebounding, then they saw that rebounding could help them have it easier, then they would realize that rebounding really can, round out the edges, and meaning it can bring your joints to, or it can pump out lactic acid, it can energize, it can bring that circulation. And if you're doing it between sets, especially before a workout, you're just so much more primed and ready for the workout. And then between sets, you're recovering almost 100% between sets, between lifts, between whatever you're doing. And so again, how do they do it without the rebounder? It's impressive.
It is
Impressive.
the recovery off of it is really impressive as well. Is there something that you wanted to talk about that you really wanted to get out there?
Well, Stephanie and I are going to be competing in the new fit model division in
Oh,
bodybuilding.
really?
Yeah, so we're going to take our bodies up onto the stage and compete and show what we have built on our rebounders. And we're really excited for this endeavor. And it takes a lot of flexibility for posing, because posing really is the big Your moment on stage, you need to know how to show your body, and that's how you do it. You do it with the posing. The posing is a beautiful art and it's a beautiful flow and it takes incredible flexibility. And again, thank goodness for the flexibility I get on the Cellerciser because I can do the posing on stage, but then the Cellerciser has also built all of my muscles. And so now I have a physique that can, we'll see. That's the whole idea with this, is to see how we stand up to other competitors, and see if our rebounding muscles can, make it to the top. With rebound or with bodybuilding, they're used to seeing weight iron made muscles. They're used to seeing that. So we're going to see how it goes. We have high hopes for doing really well, but it really is because it's subjective, because it's not who has the fastest time, but it's who's bringing the best, flow and the best physique for who's on stage. It's about comparing. So 10 people show up, it's who's the best on stage, and somebody could come in and have just almost like, a body that they're more used to seeing, and maybe has like more glutes, because that's a typical muscle group that they really like to see up there.
Hmm.
Stephanie and I are just balanced from head to toe. And that's what they're asking for in this fit model division. So we're hoping for that. But I know that in bodybuilding, they like glutes. They like glutes. And Stephanie and I would have to, well, Stephanie's got great glutes. Let's say we're talking about my glutes. We're balanced. We're balanced. I think Stephanie, she has more muscle overall, all over. So that's why she's a little more glutes. So it's about bringing balance. We're excited for it.
How is that possible? Because you guys are identical twins, right?
Yeah, yeah. She took a little, when we were creating all of our programs that we sell on our website, I created trophy body ballerina training and trophy body bikini training, and she created trophy body training 3.0. And that one was like squat jumps, jamba runs, crazy leg movements, but she also is a super flexor. And so she built up her quads and deltoids like, you know, half an inch they pop out like a half an inch more than mine on
Oh,
her
wow.
and her quads and her glutes. All over in balance. It's like it's perfectly even. But because I went more ballerina, I'm just a little bit slighter.
That might work out in your favor. You never know. You never know the judges.
Or I'm like, fingers crossed, they want the slighter look, but she's got the little more muscle. And so either way, we're hoping that the judges like one or the other. And so we're going to see what happens, but we're stoked because we know our diet's keeping it tight and keeping us lean. And we're so happy that we found our flow with our starch-based diet too, because that's been its own journey in itself.
I didn't want to touch on this too much, but you guys are doing basically the starch diet, right?
Starch-based, 100%.
100%. Like
Not
like McDougal.
No, well, McDougal kind of makes me think of oats, rice, corn, potatoes, which we eat a lot of potatoes. We eat a lot of bread. We have a lot of cereal. We have crackers. We have ramen. We have pasta. We have some fruit. Like I'm only saying it just so that, honestly, I haven't bought bananas in 6 months, and I just bought 6 bananas. Doesn't really count, right? The main fruit that we eat is like jam on our bread, to be honest. But
It's
otherwise,
kind of where I'm at. I get so tired of dealing with the fruit.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't taste as good as it did even 10 years ago. And it's such a pain in the ass. I swear they package fruit flies in with no matter which fruit you buy. And then I got to deal with it. And it's like, I just don't feel like dealing with it. So yeah, I'm like a starchivore myself at this point. What do you think about the fat
But
intake?
that's a good question because we found our flow with fats like a year ago, and we noticed that oil, like we like plant butter, oil was digesting the best for us compared to avocado and nut butter.
Hmm.
And so oil, even though oil, is something McDougall says to limit and is typically, deemed bad, we noticed that because it's not a fruit and because it wasn't a nut, it was digesting fine for
Yeah.
us in small amounts. The
Yeah.
country crock, the plant butter that we were eating, it's not like healthy by any means. The oils in them are like soybean oil and palm oil. They're actually horrible. They might have some country crock options that are like olive oil, but digestion was good with that fat, and our hormones stayed super balanced. We were, having, our monthly every month, which can happen. We can lose that when our fats drop too low, which
Yeah.
is I was going to be leading into when we started prepping for Fit Model. We did drop the fats. We dropped the oil, we dropped the coffee creamer, and we both lost weight super fast. But then we also got to a point where we started noticing that our hormones were now reacting. So it was like a 5 pound drop. And then our bodies were like, you don't want to go any lower than this. You need to stop, eating no fat. So we actually added fats back in just a little bit. And we decided instead of having the oil from the plant butter, because even though nut butter and avocado doesn't digest as well, we knew that the oils from the plant butter, we just didn't want to be eating those oils. We want to
Hmm.
be as healthy as we can. We want our skin to just be as healthy as we can. So we started incorporating some nut butter back in. Our digestion seems to be just fine, and our hormones are happy. They've been happy all the way up until just like a few weeks into after the 5 pound drop. That was when our hormones were like, okay, add the fat back in right now. And we did, and we've stabilized. Our weight is still that low weight, but now our
Hmm.
hormones are happy.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. I had to get out of that mindset, you know, of the McDougalls and the During Rider and all that. I couldn't do it anymore. I mean, I haven't added a ton back in, but I have noticed that the oil digests the best out of all of them.
It
Uh,
does.
and I don't like peanut butter at all. Like I actually, I'm the person that has peanut butter actually go bad in their cabinet. You know, like I'll just throw it out. Like I don't like it at all. So I'm lucky with that. But avocado, a little bit of oil here and there. I've noticed it really is not like the devil, like they pointed out to be. It's ridiculous. And
No,
I really struggle to listen to somebody whose cognitive like whatever is gone by the time they're like in their 60s. It's I don't know. I started looking at the plant-based doctors who are talking about oil is like, or fat is terrible for you. And they all kind of have that same cognitive issues. And I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that.
when we reduce animal products and we're aware of oil, we right there drop loads of fat. And we should all be very happy with that move alone.
Yeah.
When it comes to wanting a certain goal body weight, but by getting our body fat down,
It's plugged into the computer, but it doesn't charge the battery while it's going. So it just dies. All right, let's get back to it. The animal fat and dropping everything.
yeah, just that move alone is sensational for getting ourselves healthy and for losing body fat. And so we need to be in a sustainable way of eating. We need to love our starches and the fats in the form of, conscious oil eating and some plant fats of any kind enhance our starches. Let's do it. Let's eat our starches. Let's stay motivated. And then we'll notice over time that our cravings for fats shift because of it, sometimes they don't shift. Sometimes they stay right where they're at. But sometimes if our metabolism increases because our fitness increases, and we might notice that we need to have more volume or more density, and we end up, because we need more volume typically at the same time as more density, we don't want to be increasing. When we increase the fats, we notice that we kind of get slower. So we do end up increasing the carbs. And just by that alone, that reduces fat grams overall. And so just by getting healthier and fitter and stronger, our fats drop even more just because the calories go up. And so again, it kind of takes care of itself. But then when we get to this point where I kind of jumped right into it, where now we're looking for a specific aesthetic goal, we might need to go to a little bit more extreme measures to pretend, for Stephanie and I to meet a weight that we want to be at for stage, or a look, I should say. Then we can drop down into that lower fat gram range to see how our body responds, to see if we can drop our body fat down. But then we can make sure that we are also monitoring our hormonal health. And if at any point the fat grams are, or the hormones say, alert, alert, red alert, we need to bring the fats back up. And so we have to play coach in our heads and balance our hormones with our fat intake if we're trying to go for, like I said, a specific aesthetic goal, which has been prevalent in the high carb vegan community. It's get down to a certain body fat. It's like, all right, well, once we do get down to that certain body fat, then we need to now potentially add fats back in and see if we can keep that body fat, because our hormones are going to be happier.
Yeah, I've noticed that. And honestly, if mine gets too low, I don't sleep at all. Like I can't sleep. And that's just, it's annoying. So, I mean, I'm not talking a ton, maybe like, I don't know, 20 grams a day or something like that. It's really not high, but I noticed that if it gets down to like 10 or below, I just don't sleep and it's annoying. Have you ever noticed anything, if it gets too low, does your sleep get affected?
Well, for us, it just was when our fats dropped down to very low and we both lost weight. And then, like I was saying, then we were stable, but then our hormones started to respond in a way where we started having increased anxiety, and our cycle was not as regular.
Mm.
For 1 month, because this was all in a short window. When we missed our cycle because it delayed, that's when we knew we needed to increase fats. But when the hormones were out of sync and the anxiety was up and the cycle was being pushed back, yeah, sleep was absolutely affected 100%. It definitely like increases, everything just gets out of balance. And so I'm sure stress hormone is up. There's spikes that anxiety is up. So the recovery isn't, if sleep isn't good, then the recovery isn't good. But during the day, we need to have a certain amount of recovery as well. We should be in a restorative, state of body during the day. We shouldn't always be engaged in stress. And Stephanie and I were starting to just notice that we were having higher engagement and stress levels because our fats were too low.
I mean, you can even do that with exercise. What's that?
I was just going to say we were able to sustain it for a window of 4 weeks, but then we needed to increase fats again.
And it's the same with, if a lot of these people with the rebounders, their workouts are insane. Like I'm watching these people, they're nuts. And that raises your stress levels too. Like I really like what you guys have done with the whole, mellowing it out almost, because if you really type in like rebounding exercises in YouTube, most of them are like military grade. It's like boot camp. I'm like, it's like like overweight people already don't like themselves, so they want to do something that even further produces like a hatred almost towards themselves, so they gravitate towards that. And they really, people who are really overweight and really like a lot of them don't like themselves. It's like, take it easy, man. Like back off on the exercise. Because your cortisol is clearly already high. If you've got a lot of weight on you, it's already high. So if you really need to back off, and that's why I don't like the cycling as much, because that's going to raise your cortisol for the most part, because everybody wants to be as fast as they can on the bike. Where I think just on the Cellerciser, just chill out, man. Like just like you said, just work on your joints getting healthier, because if you're overweight, your joints aren't going to be as healthy as they could be. And just stretching and just lengthening the muscles and everything, just chill out. And I think That I really appreciate where you guys have gone with, well, we're going anyway with the workouts.
Awesome. I'm glad that you appreciate it because we've been influenced by our grandmother with living with her until she was 104 and just watching her live in her last decade of her life and realizing just how important it is to just be calm. And yeah, we can train at crazy intensities when we're younger, but it's not going to last. We're not going to be training at those crazy intensities when we're in our later years. So
Mm-mm.
why not just focus more on that sustainable, we like to say the nose breathing zone training, because I do think that we can train in those zones and in moderate zones, even into our 80s, 90s. Hundreds,
Mhm.
I don't know, but Stephanie and I want to live until our hundreds and see what we're capable of in our hundreds. And we're keeping stress low and keeping hormones healthy. And so we don't see any reason not to be jumping in our 90s and be able to be in that moderate heart rate zone because we're just able to, do that low impact form of exercise and we haven't killed ourselves in our younger years.
Yeah, I mean, because if you really think about it, prior to the gym coming around, and really the gym was really just to help people rehabilitate from burns and just different things. We would be walking to where we were going or just lifting light things. We didn't have these crazy, some of the stuff that you see people doing, like balancing on one foot while holding something in there. I'm like, why, why? Some of these workouts that I see people do nowadays, why, So I think if it's more going back to like our, roots prior to the last 150 years or so of just we would walk and when we needed to lift something, we would lift something. If when we needed to, do whatever, it would be done. I mean, if you put a gym back in like I don't know, like 1850, people would be like, what is this? Get this out of here. I'm already doing, enough. And so I think getting back to that, I think is ideal.
That's a really, yeah, that actually is something I thought about recently where we used to always be moving, exactly what you're saying. And so because now we're used to spending hours in the day not moving, some people even brag about how they spend 10 hours a day not moving. Um, it makes sense to get on our rebounders and kind of make up for lost time in a sense and see if we can be on our rebounders as often as we can throughout the day, just because it's so low impact and so easy. It's no different than, sweeping or vacuuming. It's just very easy on the body movement. And if we want to increase our energy levels, rebounding will help us do that. And if we want to, keep our body in motion and the NEAT zone, right? Non-exercise activity thermogenesis, where we really do build up that basal metabolic rate and we can burn more calories overall just because we're in that super low intensity, almost non-exercise zone. We really can bring like massive calorie burn and metabolism increase, metabolism boost. So just getting on our rebounders as much as we can, really, if we're TV watchers, if we have the luxury of time to watch TV, we really should be bouncing while we're watching TV. Because some people do work a lot and they don't, sit around and watch TV all day, but if someone took their TV time and brought it up onto their rebounder, their whole life would change.
It would, yeah. I used to back when I used to watch sports. I would do that. Especially, you know what I would do? I would because there were so many commercials. Every time there was a commercial, I would get on the rebounder, and when the game came back on, I would watch and get back on there for the. And then sometimes I would just stay on there for the whole thing. But I mean, you can make kind of a game out of it, kind of have fun with it. Maybe sometimes if I was watching it, somebody would like we would take turns. So get
And you can sit
just have
bounce,
fun.
and you can lay bounce, and you can just be doing movements like even sitting on it, you can rock side to side. And so you're not even bouncing. You can hold the handlebar and you can do V-ups and you can hit your abs. If you're laying on your back, you can invert your legs and you can do leg massage and you can actually bring recovery to your feet because a lot of stand bouncing might start to add up and make your legs fatigued. And so there can be a lot of recovery work as well. And it made me think too of cycling, how someone could say, well, if I have a spin bike in my house, I could be on my spin bike while watching TV. Which would be great. It would be a form of movement, but again, it's not like balanced because you're just moving the lower body. The arms are literally just hanging there. And
Hmm.
so you might as well be doing something that puts resistance against every single cell in your entire body all at once, equally.
I think that's a perfect place to end it. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, I know that the secret to weight loss is hydration, and I really am just finding that out with my journey to the stage being the leanest that I've ever been in my life, that it really is about a balance of hydrating and non-hydrating starches. Because if we overhydrate by only having hydrated starches, then our volume is too much. And so if we have to have a balance of hydrated starches with non-hydrated starches, if that makes sense. And then of course, meeting our quota of water every day. And I think just that alone, along with jumping, could absolutely change someone's life very quickly. And I know weight loss is a goal for a lot of people. And so don't eat too many hydrated starches like cream of wheat, cream of rice, and just like potatoes and squashes and stuff. If we focus on that alone, then our stomach volume is just going to be too full and too bloated, and we might not meet our calorie needs. So we need to have that in balance
That's
with
crazy.
cereal, ramen, and pasta, and then rice and things like that. But there needs to be a balance. So if we're eating only starches that aren't very hydrated, and I put rice in the category as not necessarily hydrated, because if rice were sitting in broth, that would be hydrated. If rice is sitting in some plant milk with some cinnamon sugar, that's more hydrated than it is if it's just rice with salt, sodium condiment. Cream of rice, cream of wheat, creamed grits, those are very hydrated. Potatoes, very hydrated. So we need to have a balance. That's all I wanted to end with. We will reach our weight loss goals.
You know, I said that's crazy because I just made a video about this because I was eating nothing but soups really, and I'm like, I was bloated. I was retain. I mean, I was carrying like an extra 15 pounds. Like my weight would fluctuate 15 pounds over the day. I'm like, this it should not be doing this. So I stopped altogether, actually. Uh, and it's gone away. It just completely went away. So wow, that's crazy. Did you say that though? I mean, I just noticed that myself because another thing that I've noticed. I tried to end this, but another thing that I noticed was if I drink. Do you know who Christopher Walker is?
Yeah.
So he was talking about if you're overweight and you drink a lot of water, it's actually detrimental to you. But if you're a normal weight and you drink a lot of water, it's actually beneficial. I forget what the reason was. It had something to do with sodium. And I noticed that if I kept drinking water, I was trying to get clear pee, and I wasn't. It was just getting more and more yellow. And I'm like, screw it. I'm tired of drinking all this water, and I stopped. And all of a sudden, I had clear pee. So I think there's something to do with the sodium levels of the body and how much you drink and how beneficial it is. And somebody like you who is it's like half my weight can drink apparently more water than somebody who's got a little bit extra on them. So you really have to pay attention to that. And I started thinking about that when I was eating all these soups and everything. And I stopped doing it. Everything's definitely been better.
That's really good. Just salt and sugar are another two things that need to be in balance. So we need to meet our salt needs and we need to meet our sweet needs. We need to meet our hydration needs. We need to meet our non-hydrated dehydration needs. And then we also need to meet our movement needs and then meet our sleep needs. But we don't need 9 hours of sleep every night. We need a balance. So some nights 7 hours, some nights 8 hours, some nights 9 hours. Water can range anywhere. Some parts of the month, it could be 3 liters. Sometimes in the month, it could be 5 liters. and then the range in the salt and sugar. I like to like go in and say, what am I craving right now? Salty or sweet? And just stick with whichever one I'm craving. Try not, well, I don't want to say try not to mix the two because the both of them combined are delicious. But
Hmm.
yeah, just having simplicity and meeting our salt needs and knowing that salt sometimes, like Barbara O'Neill would say, lick salt and drink water and it will
Yeah,
help
that works
absorb
really good.
water.
It does
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
There was a time when I was doing that, I was like, wow, when the salt tasted so good, it was like my body needed sodium. And that's what this is. This is actually a liquid IV and it's got the sodium in it. And I was drinking one of these every day, but then it started getting too much. It's like, I don't need
Yeah.
one every single day. It's not in balance. It's like when I know that I've gone without food for a while and my body is feeling depleted, sodium is the least I can give it, even though food would be ideal, but sodium
Hmm.
next best thing. And then we can get to food whenever we need to. But it's a good mid-meal snack if we're like out and about, we can't get to food or we're training.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Anything else? I
I
know
don't
you can talk. I know you can talk. So like if you want to say anything,
Well, I'm just so glad that you're seeing results and that you have found your way and you've stuck with it and you're going to keep going. And I want
yeah.
to see you, we'll interview again anytime and see how you're doing and keep it going. And I know your YouTube channel wants to, stay posted with your rebounding journey and your rebounding success because that's what we all live for is people's success stories because it makes us feel like there's hope and it inspires us to, have our own success journey. And so I want to, see you continue going. I'm so glad that you've come as far as you have because not everyone gets to say that they make any progress. And so you're saying that you've made progress.
Yeah,
That
a lot.
is
A
great.
lot. I mean, at one point I was over 400 pounds. So I mean, lost a lot there. But the 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 amount of pain that I've always been in and I'm not in anymore is more of a win to me than anything. Because I mean, I'm talking like almost throwing up at work. I was in so much pain. I used to have like 5 or 6 pairs of shoes at all my jobs in the locker to rotate out shoes and stuff like that because I was always in so much pain. Luckily, I wear barefoot now, but I mean, the amount of stuff that I've gone through. So if somebody's like doing your workouts, because the one thing I'm probably never going to do is like workouts like you. I mean, I'll just refer them to you. Uh,
Yeah, leading them. Yeah.
what's that?
Guiding workouts, but you're doing workouts, right?
Yeah, I do workouts and everything, but like it's just not my thing. I don't feel like getting on a camera
Yeah.
and being Richard Simmons. Like you can do that. It's not my thing. I forget where I was going with this, but oh yeah, but anybody who's watching this and really just not getting a lot out of it, really maybe videotape yourself and see if there's something off. I know Dan the man used to talk about this. Like if you like you've got to rebound with a mirror in front of you, otherwise you'll never get benefit from it. There's been a couple other people who talk about that. So, oh my god. All right, I'm gonna end it here because the battery died again.
No problem.
So anyway, thanks for coming on. I'll put all your nobody can see me. I'll put a picture of myself up here. Uh, I'll put all your information down in the description. They can go check you out, go watch your workouts, join your membership and all that, or in your website and everything like that. But thanks for coming on here.
My pleasure. I just want to give a muscle shot. The Cellerciser builds muscle, so go get the Cellerciser rebounder because that's the rebounder that builds the most muscle.
It,
And you will get a trophy body inside and out by jumping on the Cellerciser. And you can use code IJUMP instead for a discount. But you also have an affiliate
I
code.
do, yeah.
Plug your affiliate code because
I'll put everything down in the description section. Go check everything out. Sorry about my technical difficulties. I don't know why this thing can't charge. Um, yeah, that's it.
okay, take care.
Peace.
Peace.